Hello and welcome everyone. Today we learn one of the lesson from CBSE class 8 English. The name of lesson is Bepin Chaudhury'S Lapse of Memory. Bepin Chaudhury'S Lapse of Memory. This lesson has been taken from the book Honeydew and written by Satyajit Ray. Let's know something about the author Satyajit Ray. He is an Indian writer and film director. He was born on 2nd May 1921 in Kolkata and he died on 23rd April 1992 in Kolkata. Satyajit Ray was an Indian film director, writer and illustrator. He was one of the greatest filmmakers of the 20th century. He was born in Calcutta into a Bengali Kayastha family which was prominent, significant in the field of arts and literature. And his famous books are The Complete Adventures of Feluda. Let's know something about the introductory part of the lesson Bepin Chaudhury'S Lapse of Memory. This lesson is entirely suspense, funny, humorous. Initially, at the beginning, I utter the word suspense, the excitement, curiosity about something. So children, you should go for the suspense elements from the lesson Bepin Chaudhury'S Lapse of Memory. This lesson is more complex, that's why beginning is most important. The story is humorous, funny and suspense one. The main character in the story is Bepin Chaudhury, who is made to believe himself as a Sikh, as a lapse of memory, because some plot, conspiracy has been played against the Bepin Chaudhury by a person. Perhaps he thinks that he has a lapse of memory. In the truth, there is nothing wrong with him. Someone has played a practical joke upon Bepin Chaudhury or Bepin BABU. The present lesson deals with a theme that good memory and forgetful nature. This picture should be observed and learnt well. The entire lesson is a practical joke, conspiracy played by CHUNILAL against the Bepin BABU, in other words, Bepin Chaudhury. CHUNILAL is taking the help of Parimal Ghosh and Dinesh Mukherjee to teach a lesson to Bepin Chaudhury or Bepin BABU. So entire story is between the Bepin Chaudhury versus CHUNILAL. In this lesson, some difficult words will occur. The first word is the asylum, that is shelter. Symptom, sign. Clamped, bounds with clams. Affluence, abundance. Retribution, as a punishment for. Thriller, exciting stories. Argument, reasoning. Deliberate, well considered. Further, we have the main characters in the story is, first one is Bepin Chaudhury. Then another is CHUNILAL. The Bepin Chaudhury is a simple man living and enjoying reading the books, but he has his schoolmate CHUNILAL, who is poor, running some difficulties in his life, and that's why CHUNILAL is approaching the Bepin Chaudhury for some help, but Bepin Chaudhury denies. refused the helping Chunilal, and thereby the Chunilal wanted to teach Bepin Chaudhury a lesson. Then Dinesh Mukherjee, one of the friend of Chunilal, who support Chunilal to teach or to play a practical joke on Bepin Chaudhury. Dr. Paresh Chandra and Parimal Ghosh, one of the member who support the Chunilal to make him learn a lesson. So, now we'll see the explanation. In this story, the BABU, Bepin Chaudhury, goes nearly crazy, mad, because he cannot remember his stay in Ranchi. He has never been to Ranchi. He insists, though there are many witnesses to the contrary. What is the suspense about it? Actually, what is that? The Bepin Chaudhury is made believe that he has lost his memory. One incident from his life that he visited the place Ranchi. But it was a practical joke played by his school-going friend, schoolmate Chunilal, because he didn't help him. Actually, many people he made as a witness in the relation of the visit to the Ranchi. The lesson begins as a Bepin Chaudhury's visit to the bookshop of Kalicharan. Here, Bepin Chaudhury meets the Parimal Ghosh, one of the friend of Chunilal, who is supporting to play a practical joke with the Bepin Chaudhury. Bepin Chaudhury was a regular visitor at Kalicharan's bookshop in the New Market. That day, however, he had a strange feeling that someone was observing him closely. He turned round only to see a meek, only looking a person break into the smile. The man seemed much surprised that Bepin Babu had not recognized him. He told Bepin Babu that he had been with him for a week when he visited Ranchi in 1958. Actually, it was a drama. It was a false act played by the Parimal Ghosh for the sake of, on behalf of his friend Chunilal, that he was one of the companion to visit the Ranchi in 1958. Obviously and clearly, Bepin Babu thought that the man who called himself Parimal Ghosh was mistaken. He was not sure. He had never been to Ranchi. The Bepin Babu was firm that he didn't go to Ranchi. He told him so, but Parimal Ghosh looked at him in disbelief and he wanted to convince him that he was with him. Bepin Chaudhury again there to talk with him. Then he told Bepin Babu that he had been with him for a week time and he visited Ranchi in 1958. Obviously, Bepin Babu thought that the man who called himself Parimal Ghosh was mistaken. Still, he was not believing. He had never been to Ranchi. He told him so, but Parimal Ghosh looked at him in disbelief. Then Parimal Ghosh confuses Bepin Chaudhury, for the sake of his friend Chunilal. Ghosh laughed aloud. He narrated the incident of his Ranchi journey in detail. He told Bepin Chaudhury, how he had injured his knee in Hudru. It was a Ghosh, Parimal Ghosh, who had come to his help then. One Mr. Dinesh Mukherjee was also in Ranchi at that time. Ghosh was sure that Chaudhury knew him. And one of the member additionally was there, Dinesh Mukherjee, who was in Ranchi. Then he thought of taking help of him, whether this incident is truth or false, because here Parimal Ghosh is making him believe that he had been to Ranchi and he stayed with him for 1 week. Then Parimal Ghosh's confusion made him something. Then Chaudhury had stayed in a hired bungalow, saying so. While Dinesh Mukherjee remained with his sister, he even reminded Chaudhury that he always carried a bag with his books on his sightseeing trips. Now Bipin Babu asked Parimal Ghosh, which month it was, and he told October, replied the Parimal Ghosh. At this time, the Bipin Chaudhury said that in October 1958, he was with his friend at Kanpur. At that time, the Bipin Babu remembered one incident that he was with his friend at Kanpur, not in Ranchi. Ranchi is one of the places from Jharkhand and Kanpur is place from Uttar Pradesh. But here, the friends of Chunilal, Parimal Ghosh and Dinesh Mukherjee are making him believe what they have done. It is a practical joke, isn't it? Actually, they wanted to teach him a lesson for the sake of Chunilal. So now Ghosh is determined because two people are telling the same incident that he had been to Ranchi to visit Parimal Ghosh and Dinesh Mukherjee. So Ghosh didn't give in. Parimal Ghosh was sure that he wanted to make him believe by saying so. So he says, I won't leave him, Bipin Babu. So I told Bipin Babu how he had one day spoken about his lonely life. Bipin Babu had then spoken about his dead wife, the only brother who died insane. Bipin Babu left that while he stepped out, Ghosh was still looking at him in disbelief. So the entire information that Bipin Chaudhury's was collected by Parimal Ghosh because it was the work for the Chunilal, his parent. So this is thereby the first part ends. In the second parts, we'll see. Bipin Babu doubts about the Parimal Ghosh, whether he is mistaken. So that's why Bipin Babu asked his driver to take his car along the Ganga river. Bipin Babu asked his driver Sitaram to drive by the side of Ganga river and he regretted. He was lamenting over having paid any attentions to Parimal Ghosh. Yet the incident was coming back again his mind. The man knew a great deal about me. That is the Parimal Ghosh is talking about the Bipin Babu. It's quite elements are true. But the incident about visit to Ranchi is confusing one. For the first time, a slight doubt, a sail came in his mind. Was he losing his mind? Now he is thinking about his personal shortcomings, whether there is a lapse of memory or does he develop the forgetfulness. But he remembered well that he was at Kanpur in 1958, not in Ranchi. Suddenly he thought of writing to Haridas Bakchi, his host at Kanpur. Then he remembered that Haridas had left for Japan a few weeks before. But as he thought of taking the help of Haridas Bakchi from Kanpur, where he visited in 1958, but just a few weeks before he had been to Japan, so he could not contact with that Haridas Bakchi. So, am I losing my mind or am I developing the forgetfulness? This thought come in the mind of Bipin Chaudhury. So here lapse means the losing or diminishing, reducing. Bipin Babu doubts again the Ghosh. Was he losing his mind? But he remembers well that he was at Kanpur, sure, in 1958. Suddenly he thought of writing to Haridas Bakchi, his host at Kanpur. Then he remembered that Haridas Bakchi had left for Japan few weeks before. Then Bipin Babu decided to confirm again. Bipin Babu rolled up his trousers and took a he took a look at his right knee whether there is a cut mark or not. But it was a cut mark there. He didn't notice. It was difficult to remember when he had got that cut mark on his knee. Then he thought of Dinesh Mukherjee. Ghosh had said that Dinesh was at Ranchi at that time. He wanted to go to him at once, but what would Dinesh think of him? After all, Bipin Babu knew that he had never been to Ranchi. Dinesh would certainly consider him a little insane or mad. He is thinking himself a less confident one. That's why he had no dare courage to go to Ranchi again. He knew also that Dinesh was never his well-wisher, and Dinesh was not also good to his side. Bipin Babu comes home. Bipin Babu left much better when he was home, and feeling better at home. After dinner, he lost himself in a new office in the incident. Came back to him. Just before lunch, Bipin Babu decided to ring up the Dinesh Mukherjee. To his surprise, Dinesh confirmed what the Ghosh had said. Bipin Babu is sick now. Bipin Babu slammed the receiver down and he had lost his appetite, hunger. He thought that he has lost his memory. He developed the forgetfulness. He didn't remember the visit to Ranchi in 1958, so he did not take his lunch. Mr. Mukherjee had only added to his worries. So now third part, Chunilal confirmed his fears. This is the main cause of the fear or the forgetfulness lapse for the Bipin Chaudhury. Bipin Babu had been in that fear for 25 years. For the first time he was feeling sick. He could not continue working. His head was in now whirling, moving, dizziness. Chunilal confirmed his fears further. He came home. It was only 2:30 and at 7:30 at evening there was a visitor named Chunilal. Bipin Babu knew why Chunilal had come. They were at school together. Now Chunilal was having a rough time. He wanted Bipin Babu to help about a job. Bipin Babu knew he could not do anything and told him so. Yet Chunilal kept pressing that you should help me in this difficult time as a friend, as a schoolmate. So at first he sent word that he could not meet Chunilal for a few weeks. Then remembering something, he hurried down to see him. He asked Chunilal if he remembered his going to Ranchi in 1958. First of all, the Bipin Babu wanted to avoid Chunilal, but he wanted to ensure from the Chunilal whether he had been to Ranchi in 1958 or not. This incident was confusing for him. Of course, Chunilal said, "Did you visited?" He looked at Bipin Babu's face with concern, worries. How can a man with a so sharp memory and sharpness could forget it? And he increased the worries and fear of the Bipin Babu. Chunilal had himself been at the railway station to see him off, and the Chunilal told that I myself had been at railway station to see you and send you. He expressed the great concern. Chunilal expressed his great concern for the Bipin Babu's health. Bipin Babu said that it must be the hard work. He told Chunilal that he would consult a specialist, a doctor. Then the doctor said the Bipin Babu wanted to visit the Dr. Paresh Chandra, and put his problem before him. The doctor was puzzled, confused. How you are remembering everything and not remembering the only one incident that he visited to Ranchi in 1958? He told him that this was an unusual, rare, strange case. He remembered everything except his trip to Ranchi in 1958. yet he was somehow convinced sure of having been there. The doctor casually instructed him, "Why don't you go there and visit again the Ranchi so that it will help you to reboost the memory and you may remember a visit to Ranchi." So the doctor suggested that he should go to Ranchi now. The sight of place might remind him of the trip. Bipin Babu at Ranchi. Acting upon his doctor's advice, Bipin Babu went to the Ranchi. At the railway station of Ranchi itself, he felt certain of one thing. It was that he had never been there before. He didn't remember anything on his journey to Ranchi. He went round the city and had the same feeling there. He didn't remember anything. He decided to try a trip to Hudro. There also the place that could be visited by him in the Ranchi. So he went there at the 5 o'clock the same afternoon. The two Gujarati gentlemen found him and he was lying unconscious beside a boulder in Hudru. When regaining consciousness, his first words were, "I am finished, there is no hope left." Bipin Babu is cursed, cured. Next morning, he was back in Calcutta. He was shattered, confused man. He wondered if he was going to end in an asylum. He rang up to Dr. Chandrababu, doctor, again and asked him to come over. That day he went to bed with an ice bag clamped on his head. Then he received an envelope at that time. In the envelope, it was a message from CHUNILAL that he had played a practical joke. Whatever the trouble he has given with a practical joke, now it wanted to end because he was, after all, his friend wanted to make him and teach a lesson. So he went, the Bipin Babu read the letter at once. It was from CHUNILAL. In his letter, CHUNILAL had first expressed his bitterness for getting no help from Bipin Babu. Most important point means the bitterness for not receiving the help from Bipin Babu, his friend. Then he frankly told Bipin Babu that his memory is alright, okay. It was his plan to retribution against his unfeeling behavior. It was a revenge conspiracy for a very cruel nature, unsocial and non-emotional response. Then he told Bipin Chaudhury now he had played a practical joke upon him. This is he did with the help of Mr. Ghosh and Dinesh Mukherjee. This trio, CHUNILAL, Parimal Ghosh and Dinesh Chaudhury, together three, made him believe that Bipin Chaudhury has lost his mind and memory, because it was a practical joke to teach him a lesson that he should be a human being, he should help the other people. Now it was clear Bipin Babu that he had not really lost his memory. Bipin Babu now there to talk with the doctor. Doctor has arrived. When Chandrababu came and Bipin Babu told doctor a lie, and he said that he had remembered everything on reaching to Ranchi railway station, but it was not. He wanted to keep the lie. He wanted to keep the secret. He wanted to save his ego. He said that he had called him for a painkiller to give him because his pain is body. He had the pain in his hip due to a fall in Ranchi. So he need a painkiller tablet to recover from that. So Bipin Babu said that he had called him only for a medicine painkiller to stop his pain. He had the pain in his hip due to the fall in Ranchi. So here we are here to conclude with this. The forgetfulness often puts anyone else in difficult situation. But forgetting is a part of one's life completely, may drive one insane. But when you are not remembering often, it will be quite troublesome. In this story, our protagonist, that is Bipin Chaudhury, Bipin Babu, is troubled at his selective lapse of memory. That is only the visit to Ranchi in 1958. He is the target of conspiracy made by Chunilal, his friend, which is a humorous take after all. The climax is a bit funny, very much suspense, but interesting and gives him the much needed psychological relief when he come to know that it has a good memory because it was a practical joke. And here we should have a good message that we must try to understand and empathize with the people around us. We should help the family members, friends, and connect with the common people with the invisible threads like a human being. Experience everything at a hard teachers. Experiences are the hard teacher. They teach you the test time and make you understand and give you the good lessons to remember in the life. So thereby we are happy to end this lesson. Thank you.